Disturbed by the tension trailing President Tinubu's Chicago State University certificate controversy, 107 non-serving senators have called for caution, respect for the rule of law, and principles of justice in handling the issue. The 107 former senators of the ruling All Progressives Congress spoke as APC non-serving senators group yesterday, Sunday, saying they threw their weight behind Mr. President and also said there was a need to uphold dignity and caution in times of challenges. Currently, the issue has been raising dust in the polity, with some backing President Tinubu and others in total opposition to him. Meanwhile, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, has appealed for a leave of the Supreme Court to file what he termed as a fresh evidence. Atiku, in the motion he filed through his team of lawyers led by Chief Chris Uche, said the evidence he is seeking to tender before the Apex Court would establish his allegation that President Tinubu's certificate he tendered to INEC was not the authentic one. The former vice president maintained that President Tinubu, by his action, committed an offense and hence a need for him to be sacked away from office. Although the application was dated October 5th, however, Atiku's legal team only perfected the filing process on Friday night. Meanwhile, reacting to Atiku's claim, a top member of the All Progressive Congress and Aviation Minister Festus Keyamo said Atiku cannot prove his forgery allegation against Tinubu unless the vendor that printed Tinubu's CSU certificate denies its authenticity. In a tweet yesterday, he totally called such allegations mischievous. But whichever side of the divide they tend to be as it concerns this issue, we on the big story today will critically look at the issue as it concerns the law in our bid to totally understand it. And that is, we're looking at the Chicago State University certificate and looking at the contending issues. But like I said, we'll be looking at it from the legal point of view. And that's what we're having as a major discourse today on the big story. We'll be looking at the CSU, as it's being now called, certificate, but looking at the contending issues and looking at it critically as it concerns the law. And to truly help us talk about this, we're being joined by two legal luminary, if I'm allowed to be allowed to say so. And I'm talking of no other person but Barrister Ejiro Itagene. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Michael.
And also a senior lawyer, and you do know him, he's no other person but Barrister Casey Omoirabo. Good morning and welcome also to the show, sir.
Thank you, man. Good morning, Vegas.
Okay, well, let's just go to it. I don't want us to sound prejudiced and also contemptuous, but rather look at the critical, or look at it critically from a legal point of view. But before we do so, I want us to first lay down or lay out the facts so we do not be seen to be on a wild goose chase. That's not what my intentions are today. But before we do, I want to first ask, is it out of place for the issue of Tinubu's certificate to be looked at openly and the issue discussed, knowing that our president is a public figure and as such, everyone would definitely want to know what seems to be happening. And why I ask this is we've heard about other presidents in other countries also being questioned. And then one that readily comes to mind is like former U.S. President Barack Obama. During his tenure, he was faced with allegations, questioned in his place of birth and citizenship, notably referred to as the Beta controversy. And not only that, recently now, we also have another person, but Modi of India, the Prime Minister, also faced allegation in his first tenure as it concerns his qualification. So my question will first start with you, Barrister Ejiro Itagene. Is it out of place for people to really look at this issue? Because it's more on the front burner. Is it out of place to look at it just to understand what the issue is as it concerns the CSU of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Thank you very much. We are in a political era.
Okay.
And the president, being a public officer, Nigerian citizens have the right to question his credentials and qualifications.
Okay.
Specifically, Atiku Abubakar is someone who contested the presidential election with him, and he is in court. And one of his allegations is that the president was not qualified, or that he put up a forged certificate, so to speak. And that is governed by Section 1371 of the Constitution. 1999 Constitution, which says that once it is established that you've submitted or you submit a forged certificate, that candidate stands automatically disqualified. I think that is the basis of him pursuing this issue of certificate, to verify whether actually President Tinubu graduated, or the Tinubu that graduated from the Chicago State University is the sitting president. So this is the basis of his pursuit. And that was why he has gone to the American court through a legal proceeding known as discovery. The discovery proceeding was instead in our equivalent of a magistrate court that made an order that, having regard to the fact that Mr. Abubakar Atiku required this document to pursue his election petition case in Nigeria, then those documents are relevant. Of course, it went on appeal, and the Tinubu's contention was that you are going on a fishing expenditure, because at the end of the day, these documents are really not going to be useful to you, because one, the trial is over and we are now in the appellate court. So, but the documents were released later on through the registrar of the university, and it's already in the public.
I really need us to come back to that deposition is also being called, especially from the United States of America court. But I'll rather still remain with the initial question, and I'll rather throw it to you, Barrister Casey Omera, but because in most recent time, many persons are saying, well, is there a need to talk about this? But my question, just like I asked him initially, should he not be discussed?
Thank you so much. I want to say, first of all, I'm a lawyer, a citizen of this country, and also I'm APC. By February, I'll be contesting with the primaries. I'm the governorship candidate, aspirant in my party. But then I keep asking, are we going to be glousing every day in our country? We see the truth and see the other side so that we can get to power. I don't belong there. Because of that, people say you are not serious, you are not ready. When I look at the issue, whether it can be discussed, any democratic setting in the world, people are free to talk about their leaders, and are free to call them to order, and are free to question them. If our leaders said not to be qualified to lead us, it's unfortunate. But I differ there, because the qualification stipulated by our Constitution, Section 131D, is that anybody asking to be elected president for our country should have a school certificate or its equivalent, not even a school certificate, somebody who have read to a secondary school level. That is, after your primary school, if you go to learn a trade, that is equivalent. If you go to learn sewing or mechanic, it's equivalent. If you go anything equivalent to a secondary education. So why do we submit all of rubbish when we're asking for election in this country? Let me tell you, in all election I contest, I've always dropped my school set. They say, this man a lawyer, so it's so headache. If you want to check whether I'm a lawyer, go to the University of Nigeria and see whether...
So the basic is just the school?
Yes! So why are we bothering ourselves? You can go that equivalent. So my president is qualified to be president, and he earned it, and we should stop all this. Let's see what we are doing.
Okay, now I really want us to now look at the really contending issues, because all of this is happening 7 months after that February 25th presidential election. And but like I stated earlier, I don't want us to go on a white goose chase, and I want us to rather look at what happened, and I want us to start first in the United States of America, because this is where it all started, and look at Atiku Abubakar filing to get evidence from the United States of America, especially from the CSU, that very certificate, before he takes it to the Supreme Court. So I want us to start first with that deposition, especially coming from the registrar of that very institute, and look at what he really said. Now, we know the battle started first there. Initially, Atiku Abubakar needed those certificates, but we also learned that the president's lawyer also initially objected to it. But at the end, the United States court also allowed it to go. So let's look at the proceedings filing up to here. Now, some will argue that how can we, with a different constitution, we're now being run with a separate constitution, almost looking as if we're taking orders from the United States of America, because that's where it all started, with article going to the court. Many felt it was highly unnecessary. It was more of a slight to our own constitution. And looking at the whole proceedings there in the United States, Barrister Ejire Etagene, let's look at it. Let's look at the deposition, look at all of that. And is it a slight on our constitution?
It is not. At all. There is an act in Nigeria that allows foreign judgments to be enforced in Nigeria.
Yes.
There is an act. This Foreign Judgment Enforcement Act.
Yes.
There is an act to that effect.
So wait, let me understand, because we are not lawyers here. Yeah. Are you saying a court in the United States of America can give an order and will be here?
Yes! You bring it here, it's not automatic. It's not automatic. That is what article is doing now. Yeah. You bring it here and you follow the procedure. There is a procedure.
The court again.
You register it again through the court and you can even challenge it. If the judgment is against you, if the judgment is against you in America or in the United Kingdom, for example, you can say, when he brings it to Nigeria, it will form another course of action.
Yes.
To say, look, you cannot apply this law here on the basis of this. Or you raise an issue of technicality, 6 months has elapsed, you can no longer enforce this law in Nigeria and all that. After there are petroleum authority to that effect. So there is nothing out of place there. But what we are going to look at here is whether a magistrate court can give an order that can be enforceable in Nigeria.
Now, that's where I want us to.
Yes. It's not for me to determine because it will be sub judice.
Okay.
Because that is one of the issues that is going to be canvassed, by both parties at the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Like we discussed yesterday, we have to be careful because the matter is sub judice. Now, Atiku has filed his motion. And Tinubu, of course, will fight as lawyers. We expect that we will fight counter and the court will make a ruling on that. Basically, let me go back to your question. Yeah. What transpired was that a friend of mine called Enahoro Eba, he's an Urobo man, but I think he grew up in the north, Atiku's lawyer, went to the Chicago State University based on one Hudain's publication that the Tinubu that was admitted into Chicago State University was a female. Okay. So this curiosity led them there, including Reno Mokri. Okay. When Reno Mokri first got there and he said, look, I have gone there and I have found as a fact that this man, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, graduated with honors from the Chicago State University from accounting department.
1979.
Yes, so many persons disbelieved him and they went there. So this Enahoro Eba got a copy of Tinubu's diploma. In America, they call your university degree a diploma. Okay. So he got a copy of it. And when they came back to Nigeria and compared it with the one Tinubu submitted,
at INEC,
they were, it was at variance. Okay. So this aroused their curiosity and made them to say, okay, let's press further. Having regard to the fact that there is an allegation that the transcript from the Southwest College, which is a feeder college to the university where Tinubu obtained his qualifying certificates to come for the degree program. They ticked F, meaning Tinubu was a female. Yeah. But in the deposition, let me quickly summarize because of time, please. When the registrar came, Mr. Westbank, when he came to make his deposition on the oath, he said that was a clerical error in view of the fact that the name Bola Tinubu is not a common name in the United States as of that time in 1975. So that the person who received the transcript must have assumed that Tinubu was a female and ticked it. But in any case, the man who presented himself for admission was referred to as Mr. Bola Tinubu. So it was just an error. The man who presented himself for admission physically, I am here now, Joe Itagene, and before you are seeing me physically present as a male. Even if my document is saying female, of course you will know it may be an error, human error. So he clarified that. He also clarified the issue of the Bola Tinubu's birth date as to whether it's 1952 or 1954. And he said it was also an error on their part. And also there's one other error. Yes, what's the error now? Yes, the issue of the security number. Okay. And he said everything, including the address, were genuine. The only thing he said was that the diploma issued to Mr. Tinubu has not been collected. In other words, it has remained in his file. Okay. When pressed why he didn't collect it, even when he applied for it, he told them, look, in America, people don't pay attention. People don't pay value to diploma. In other words, to paper certificate. In America, if you want to be employed, what they request for is not your certificate, but your transcript. Okay. They place reliance on your transcript. They place a value on your transcript. Emphasis. So many, since 1930, many students don't collect their certificates. They leave them there, and they go about working with their transcript. And that there is what we call a third-party vendor. Okay. For example, if you want to print your certificate, you pay through a third-party vendor, and the third-party vendor, produces a certificate for you of your own university, and it is allowed by the American laws and system. An authentic certificate. No, the university don't need to authenticate it. The university has already given a license to the third-party vendor, like a company. They will design it. So that's the very one he submitted at INEC. When confronted by Atiku's lawyer, he said, look, I have not seen the one submitted by Tinubu to INEC. I expect at that moment that Atiku's lawyer would have confronted him with the one for him to admit or deny. Okay, now I'll come back to you because I have a question centered on that very discussion. Now let me quickly come to you, Barrister Omoyarabo, and answer a similar question, because I know Nigerians will really be shocked with those answers you've already given as concerns a United States of America court giving an order in Nigeria and we obeying it. Not obeying it. Okay. Don't use the word obey. Let me understand. It will be applicable here after a certain period. So let's understand. After a proceeding, another proceeding will happen. That is what article is doing now. Okay, Omoyarabo, please really explain that to us.
The truth is that anywhere in the world, the judiciary has a link with each other. That is why you cannot flee from justice. If you flee from here, remember how some of our men were arrested in Dubai, taken to United States to be tried, not to United Kingdom to be tried. Do you assume a crime committed locally in Delta State here, and somebody can become committed in UK? Okay, on account of the crime. Application. So, but we also jealously guard our integrity, territorial integrity. So you don't just push in like that. So, but when you, for example, you obtain a business transaction between an American businessman, a United Kingdom businessman, and a Nigerian businessman, there is a problem, there's a breach. You sue in any of the countries, it's applicable anywhere. Yeah, if I run away with billions of dollars and come and hide in Nigeria, and the same mobile, I supplied you didn't pay, and you get judgment right there in America, it's applicable here. They will send in here, the court again will look at it. Okay, Nigerian court again will look at it. Yes. Look at it if they can entertain such order or not. Whether they can enforce such order or not. Yes, like I said, the Constitution has allowed it that we have a treaty that so anything you do there is to be done. And that's the meaning of justice. So by the time they have looked at it and said, yes, we can allow this. This is a competent court. A private council in London gives a judgment, and the Supreme Court of Nigeria look at it. Like it was trying to say, when the magistrate court gives an order, and it's sent to our Supreme Court here, it is going to be, the court will look at it. What the aim of court is justice. At the end. Yes. If it will aid the cause of justice, they will add it. If it not, then let me now say, without fear of being subjugated in the case, I am thinking, with my brother Abubakar able to adduce additional evidence
We'll come to that. We'll come to that because I want us to look at that also. Because I told you we don't want to go on a wide goose. We want to first look at this very issue. Look at the certificate issue first.
Yes.
Then now we'll now come to this fresh evidence and filing that was done on Friday. But I'll plead with both of you to hold on. We need to go on a break now. But when we come back, we'll continue our discussion centered on that seems to be taking center stage on all political discourse. And we're talking about the Chicago State University certificate and why it's causing a whole lot of controversy right here in Nigeria. Let's go on a break.